Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We're now 6 episodes into The Last of Us, and this show has been great. So this is going to be my review of the first 6 episodes of The Last of Us. Welcome back to my channel, everyone. My name is Arjun. I'm a huge fan of movies, but once in a while, I'll also talk about TV shows, the ones that I'm watching on this channel, and The Last of Us has been one of those. And I've personally really enjoyed this show so far. A lot of people seem to be enjoying it too. I've never played the games for context, so I don't have any idea what the show was going to be like when I went into watching it, and I've really enjoyed it so far. So in this video, I'm going to specifically talk about episodes 5 and 6. But I'm also going to talk a little bit about what I thought about episodes 1 through 4. I did do like shorts talking about them, but really, I've never really actually reviewed them. So I'm going to do that in this video. Just really quick reviews and then actually go to episodes 5 and 6, which is what I really want to talk about. Before I do though, let me know down in the comments, what did you guys think of The Last of Us so far? And like I said, give me some context. Are you someone that really likes the games? Have you played them before? Or are you someone that wasn't a huge fan of them? Or are you someone that just haven't played them at all like me? I'd love to know your thoughts. With that said, I'm going to get started with my review. And as someone that has no idea what The Last of Us was about, I'm very impressed by this show. And the first episode just really captured me. It shows the start of what happened and why this whole world is the way that it is. We see Joel's daughter, and when I saw Joel's daughter, I thought she was going to be the kid that's with Joel the entire time, because I didn't know the games, I didn't look at the poster, I didn't know anything about the show really, so I just assumed she was going to be the character that's with Joel the whole time. But when she died, that really surprised me and just blew me away. I thought she was going to be the character with him, and then it really surprised me that she wasn't. Now, in the first episode, I thought Ellie was kind of insufferable just because of how just angsty she was. In the later episodes, I started to like her more, but in the first episode itself, I wasn't a huge fan of her. But I think it was a great start to the show and did a great job of building up tension. Moving on to episode 2, we get to see more of the infected here, and there's more action sequences. I don't think it was as good as episode 1, just on a story level, but it did a great job because we get to see Tess, Joel, and Ellie go outside of this place that they were in the first episode, and then we actually get to see them interact with the infected. There's a really great action sequence inside of an empty building. I thought that was awesome. So there's a lot more of action in this episode, and we get to see that, and it was a great introductory action sequence in this episode. And like I said, I found Ellie more likable here, and I also thought Tess's sacrifice and her death was executed really well. And even though I didn't know much about her, I think it was a really effective sequence. In episode 3, the show takes a complete 180 and it turns into kind of a love story between Bill and Frank. And I think this was also a really good episode. A lot of people said it's one of the best episodes of television ever or something like that. I wasn't quite on that level. I really liked it. I think at this point in time, in the first 3 episodes, I thought that was the best episode so far. And I think it was very good. We get to see a lot of what this show is actually about, like themes about caring about people, caring for people, and saving them in this world. That's what the most important thing about it is. So I really appreciated that on a story level. I think there's a lot of things about this show that worked really well, and this episode kind of showed that. And we also, near the end, we get to see Joel's and Ellie's relationship kind of progress, and they get in the car and like obviously drive off, and then we see the continuation of that in episodes 4 and 5, which I thought was also great. With episode 4, I think this episode had some things that I did not love. I wasn't a huge fan of Kathleen. I think she was a really weak villain, and she was only there for 2 episodes. It's not like it's a big deal, but whenever she was on screen, I didn't really buy into her performance, buy into her character, and I couldn't buy the fact that everyone in this place would rally around her. I don't think that really made any sense, but honestly not a big deal. But the rest of the stuff in episode 4 I thought was really good. The jokes between Ellie and Joel were great. The joke book and all that stuff was great. We get to see Ellie and Joel kind of progress as far as their relationship goes, and they start caring about each other, which I thought was great. And at the end of the episodes, you're introduced to Sam and Henry, which continues off into episode 5, which I think is the best episode of this show and one of the best episodes of television I've seen in a long time. it does a lot of things on a story level, but also on a character level. And I think Sam and Henry were really good characters. I don't know much about them in the game, but whenever they were on screen here, I thought they were really good. We get to see them trying to escape, and the sequence at the end when the bloater shows up, a bunch of infected start swarming the place. The whole action sequence I thought was awesome. And then you see Joel at the top of the roof where he's just shooting down anyone that's trying to hurt Ellie. I thought this episode was great, and it did a great job of just setting up these characters, setting up the story to build you in. And like, this is where I really started to love the show. Like, everyone was saying in the first 4 episodes that the show is perfect and all that stuff, and then some of them were obviously haters, but they didn't really like it. But most sane people really enjoyed the first 4 episodes. And when I watched the 5th episode, that's what I felt. I felt like the 5th episode really pulled me in, and this is where I started to get just fully invested in the story, and I wanted to see where it's going next. I think all the action stuff was great. The whole action sequence at the end was awesome. And the most emotional part of the episode, where after the action sequence, you see that Sam was infected. He got bit by one of the infected, and Ellie tried to save him, but then that doesn't help at all. Using her blood doesn't help at all. And then you realize that the next day he's turned into one of the infected, and he starts attacking Ellie. And then you see such an emotional scene where Henry is like trying to figure out, should he shoot Sam? Should he like not? Because that's his brother. So it's like a big deal, that whole episode, and that sequence at the end when Henry does end up shooting Sam, and then he can't deal with what he ended up doing, so he shoots himself. That whole sequence I thought was just so gut-wrenching, and the way this episode ended just left me speechless. I couldn't believe how amazing episode 5 was. Like, I don't know what I would change about the episode. Like, the episode from beginning to end is perfect on a story level, on a character level, and the way it ends just leaves you just speechless. It's insane how amazing that whole episode was. So because I loved episode 5 so much, obviously episode 6 had a huge task of like following that up, and I don't think it was quite as good as episode 5, and honestly I think it's one of the weaker episodes of the show. And I don't mean to say that it's bad, it's still a very good episode. I just don't think it's as good as like episode 5, episode 3, maybe even episode 1. Like, it's a great episode, it's very good for what it is. I just don't think it lives up to what episode 5 was. I think it did a good job on a character level of what it did for Joel. I think for Joel as a character, this episode did a great job of giving us more insight into his character. We get to see more of his reaction, how he's still a human being. He hasn't gone over his daughter's death. He's still, is like, even though he seems very hardcore in general, whenever you see him in this episode, you get to see the more vulnerable side of him, and I thought that was great. He also finds Tommy, so I think on that level it was really good that we get to see kind of a payoff of what he's been looking forward to, because he was looking for Tommy at the beginning of this show. And even though his goal kind of changes in the middle because he finds Ellie, he still finds Tommy, so on an emotional level that resonated with me really well. I also really like the way this episode kind of built tension with the scene where the dog is kind of like sniffing them to see if they've been around any infected, and then obviously Ellie ends up kind of being friends with the dog. I guess we don't see them interact again other than that one scene, but still I thought that was really cool because I thought something bad was gonna happen, but then nothing happened, so that was really nice. We also kind of get to see Ellie's side of the story, where she's just, everyone that she's known has just betrayed her or left her or just died, and Joel is the only one that's been there the entire time. Because I think one thing this episode does a weird job of is there's a long time span in this episode. This episode takes place over like the course of like a week or 2 weeks or something like that, and you don't really feel that because of the way the episode is paced. So I thought that was kind of weird. But we get to see that with Ellie's story, and because of that, Ellie and Joel get to grow as characters, kind of like start to like each other more, and their relationship is developed. And I thought that was very good. It's just I wish we got to see more of it, because at the end of this episode, Joel ends up dying, which I thought was very rushed. I think we should have gotten at least one more episode of them together to see their bond grow, because I did not really feel the emotional weight of Ellie and Joel's relationship at the end. Like, I was sad that Joel died, but I did not feel the weight of it because we don't really get to see Ellie and Joel's relationship progress enough for me to like start crying or something at that point in time. I think it was executed really well. The performance was great, and when Ellie says, "I have no clue what I'm doing, I need you," it's like to Joel, that was such a great scene. It's just I wish we got to see one more episode of them together so we can actually see their relationship progress to the next level. Now, I don't know how this played out in the game, so I don't know how accurate it is. Maybe it's better in the game or something like that. But in the show, I do wish we got to see a little bit more of them together. And maybe in the next episode, Joel died. That might have helped a lot more. But I still think what they did worked really well. I just, on a personal level, I would have personally liked to have seen more of them together. But we didn't, but what we got, I still thought was really good. I think on a story level, this episode didn't do too much, but what it did on a character level for Joel and Ellie, I thought was really emotional. So I think on that level, it's the best episode so far, but also because it didn't do much on a story level, and I do think some things were rushed a little bit. Because of that, I think it's also one of the weaker episodes. So I don't know how I feel about this episode. I'm a little bit conflicted. It's still a very good episode. Just comparing it to all the other episodes that have come so far, I don't know if it's like one of the best ones or one of the weakest ones. I think I'd just say it's one of the weakest just because I do think some things were rushed. And I've never felt that way about all the other episodes. So yeah, guys, I've really enjoyed The Last of Us so far. I'm really excited to see the next 3 episodes and see how the show comes to a close. Hopefully, we get to see how Ellie grows as a character and how by the end of the show she kind of comes to her own instead of always obviously being next to Joel. So I'm really excited for that. I do wish something's played out a little differently in episode 6. But overall, the show has been great. And like I said, episode 5 is one of the best episodes of television I've seen in a very long time. So I really enjoyed the show. Can't wait to see where it goes next. And I'm very excited. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Let me know down in the comments, what did you think of The Last of Us so far? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.